Welcome everyone tonight. I declare the meeting open, and the first order of business is if we could have a mover for Councillor Dave Gallagher to be the chairman tonight. Moved Councillor Chandler, seconded Councillor Jewett. All those in favour? Declare it carried unanimously. You're now the chairman, Dave.
Yes, I'd wish to welcome everyone to the September meeting of the Health and Building Committee. The standing committees are held at the part of the council process in order for the committees to consider reports prepared by council officers to make the recommendations in regards to these monthly reports at a council meeting. Council delegates for the Health and Building Committee are Mayor Kennedy, Deputy Mayor Hickey, Councillor Chandler, Councillor Jewett, Councillor Gallagher and Councillor Turley. All councillors undertook an oath or an affirmation at the beginning of their term of office to declare that they'll undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interest of the people of Broken Hill, local government area, the city of Broken Hill, and they will firmly, impartially carry out their functions and powers, authorities and discretions vested upon them under the Local Government Act of 1993 or any other act to the best of their ability and judgment. This committee meeting is being live streamed via YouTube and recording and published online by the council's website. For those present in the meeting here today, by attending the public meeting, you are considered that your image, voice and comments being recorded and published. The chairperson and or the general manager have the authority to pause a live stream if comments or debate are considered defamatory or otherwise inappropriate for publishing. Participants are advised they may be subject to legal action if they encourage in unlawful behaviour or commentary. I'd like to call for any apologies. No apologies. There's no apologies. We'll just continue on.
I think it's a leave of absence
Yeah,
that we've got in, isn't
any
it?
leaves of absence? There's sorry. Deputy Mayor has submitted a leave of absence from the application provided for reasons of annual leave for the 15/9 to the 6/10. Call for a motion to accept the application granted and call for a motion to accept the moved by Councillor Turley, seconded by Mayor Kennedy. All those in favour? Councillor Brown then, Councillor Turley, Mayor Kennedy, Councillor Jewett and Councillor Chandler and Councillor Gallagher. We declare it unanimously. I call upon Councillor Jewett to deliver the prayer.
Almighty God, we ask you to invoke your blessing upon this council, direct and prosper our deliberations to the advancement and true welfare of the people of the council area, our state and Australia. Amen.
I'll now call upon, I'll do the acknowledgement of the country myself. I wish to acknowledge the traditional owners upon where we meet today, the Winnicali people, and pay our respect to those elders past, present and emerging. I'll now call upon Councillor Chandler to deliver the acknowledgement, to deliver the mining.
We take time to reflect and honour the over 800 miners that lost their lives and those who were crippled or maimed on the line of load. We thank the brave miners and their wives who were part of the 1919-1920 strike that lasted over 500 days and delivered a 35-hour working week. Mining is our past and future.
Thank you, Councillor Chandler. The minutes of the Health and Building Committee held on the 23rd of August 2022. I'd like to move a motion, move it to be they can be confirmed. Moved by Councillor Turley, seconded Councillor Chandler. Any questions of those minutes? There's no questions. All in those in favour? Councillor Turley, Mayor Kennedy, Councillor Jewett, Councillor Chandler, Councillor Gallagher. When the ayes declare it unanimously. It calls for any disclosures of conflicts of interest. There's none for this report. Item 9, we'll go straight into reports. Broken Hill City Council's report 196/22 dated the 8th of September 2022. Development of the Reconciliation Action Plan. So I'll move it. Moved by
I'll move that way.
Councillor Turley. Have a seconder. Councillor Jewett. Any questions?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to speak to this report and say how important it is that the work that's been done by our staff for the Reconciliation Action Plan to date. I mean, I think it's, you know, at each stage we're getting stronger and stronger, and certainly supporting not only our staff in delivering for the community, but uniting our Aboriginal community with our City Council and making sure that we are developing a vibrant community for everyone. So I'm happy to support the next stage of the plan, the 2022-24 action plan, and to say that, you know, for all of this, it is about strengthening our community and certainly making it an attractive town for everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Turley. Anyone else like to speak?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. So there's a few things in here that concern me. For example, I'll just ask a question. Is this set by legislation, or do we make our own action plans? That's what's written in here.
I'll refer to the General Manager. General Manager.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Through you to Mayor Kennedy. It's set internally or set by each organisation sets their own reconciliation action plan, but ours follows the guidelines set by Reconciliation Australia. So there's a set of criteria and guidelines that sets the framework that all organisations will follow, which is what we've done here in this regard as well.
Yeah. So what concerns me is there's a target here of 3% Aboriginal workforce. We move towards it. I know for a fact that, well, 3% of our workforce is about 5 or 6 people. I know that we already have more than that. So work towards, we're already at it. I don't expect people or anyone to have to say what nationality they are, what they identify, what they don't identify. The other thing that concerns me is and there's a lot in here that does review HR recruitment procedures and policies, remove barriers to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islands participation in the workforce. I'll ask the question, what is the barriers at the moment, considering I know there's at least 10 Aboriginal people on council that work currently. So what was the barrier to them getting employed?
Oh, for the General Manager.
It doesn't look good when people say as if we have a barrier, but we obviously don't have a barrier because we're already employing well beyond the 3%. And to have it written there gives the impression to me and probably many others that our council has racist policies.
Mr. General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Mayor Kennedy. Yes, the barriers that are probably represented in that report relate to the different methodologies that are put in place by and proposed by Reconciliation Australia around how you can promote recruitment to Indigenous and Aboriginal people, not going down the standard recruitment path that we currently have. As you mentioned, we know as well that a lot of the workforce, not a lot of the workforce, there is a percentage of the workforce that are Indigenous and Aboriginal and choose not to identify. So the benchmark in there, or the rate of 3%, we are meeting. It's just obviously around who chooses to identify causes those some of those anomalies in that regard. All merit-based selection with our HR practices. One of the key learnings we got out of the Elsa Dixon process for the trainees was about going to the actual schools and speaking to the Indigenous and the Aboriginal children directly around coming to work for council, which would be one way of reducing those barriers. Obviously, generally you go out and advertise and expect people to come to you. Sometimes we may have to be a little bit more proactive, and that'd be one of the barriers that could potentially be there.
See, and there's a problem. I understand traineeships, because kids are like that no matter what descent they are. It's hard to get kids to come out and go to trainees and get them, and often you do have to approach them. But for example, employing people, whether Aboriginal or any other descent, you go target who? People at where? You know, the reality is if Aboriginal people apply for it, the people that are going to be the most credit-based are going to get that. So it's not going to be the people that can't use job applications or can't do this. So all this is written here, but it actually doesn't achieve much at all when it comes to doing anything for the Aboriginal community. We know, we as a council and the general manager and other people went out and met. I know what most people in Aboriginal community want at the moment. They want a park out in Creedon Street that has sheds built on it that can have boiler making, mechanical shops, and teach people how to get a job, not a document that really doesn't have much in it other than critical of a council that, in my opinion, does a lot to do this already. And to say that we have barriers, there's no barriers. Council already employs on a merit base. They don't discriminate against people. And I can tell you, I know a lot of Aboriginal people, and they certainly don't need help getting a job. And the people that we will employ on council will be the Aboriginal people that don't need help getting a job. So the reality is we're not going to help any disadvantaged people. The best way to help people with disadvantaged people, whether black or white, is to make sure that education's good, facilities are good, and we do everything that council did. And that's what our reconciliation and plan should reflect, how we're going to benefit the community and benefit all Aboriginal people, not 5 or 6 Aboriginal people that are well capable of getting jobs themselves.
Okay, is any other people like to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Chandler, is a question or?
I don't know whether this is relevant, but it says that the development of a new RAP incurs a cost of $1,500 to Reconciliate Australia. Why are we paying $1,500 for? We don't do anything wrong anyway. We're doing why are we paying Reconciliate Australia $1,500?
Mr. General Manager.
I'll answer that. I think that it's just the cost of the report, Alan, and we do want a report. We want to be able to do things. We want to do them right. But the report needs to reflect something that helps the community. $1,500 in the scheme of things, that's just the cost to do it. We're not playing reconciliation. It's the cost of the report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would you like, there's no further questions or for or against?
I'll move an amendment.
What's your amendment?
I'll move an amendment that it be, because I'd like to go through the report in detail, because there's things in this that I think that could be written a lot better. So I'll move that it be deferred for a full-on workshop with all councillors.
Okay, would someone like to second the amendment? Councillor Chandler, would you like to speak? Anyone against the amendment? Would you like to speak further, write a reply?
Just because I think it's an important document, and it's a document we need to get right that reflects our community, not a generic document that's been pushed by someone in Sydney or someone in Canberra. It was explained to me that this document did go before our reconciliation group, and there was a number of local Aboriginal people, only a couple. Now, to think that represents the Aboriginal community in Broken Hill, for me, is a little bit insulting. I would like to see a number of these things put to a public meeting that included as many Aboriginal people as possible attend after council had gone through it, because I don't believe this reconciliation action plan represents our local Aboriginal community at all.
Okay, anyone to speak against the amendment?
No, I'm not going to speak against, but can I say absolutely agree with Mayor Kennedy about how we actually engage everybody to be part of it. This plan actually is the old plan. It's not the new plan. So when you're going into the new plan, how we actually engage people and get the councillors involved, absolutely. And for those actions that are here, and just to give some insight to the new councillors, the staff actually worked with the, I think Dion and the staff worked with our local staff and our Aboriginal community and said, what is the issue that's missing at the moment in your area, in your department? What is it that can be strengthened? So it wasn't a case of saying, we're not doing it. It's how do we strengthen it, which is what Mayor Kennedy is saying. How do we strengthen this? How do we deliver it better? How do we bring everybody together? Absolutely support that. And for the template, it's actually the template that you receive, and Reconciliation Australia's support around that. But the actions come directly from the staff and from our community. So I support the amendment.
Okay, I'll move the amendment be call for a vote for the amendment. All those in favour? Declared unanimously. The amendment becomes a motion. All those in favour? Against? Unanimously carried. Okay, next one, Broken Hill City Council Report 197/22 dated the 16th of August 2022, adoption of the draft revised local orders policy. So moves Councillor Turley, seconder.
Yep,
Second,
seconder.
Mayor Kennedy. Mayor Kennedy?
No,
No, I was just going to ask Mayor Turley, Councillor Turley, would you like to say something?
just really a question.
Just a question, no problem.
Probably if the through the chair to the
Yes.
general manager and hopefully to Michael. How does this compare? Is this a good orders plan? If we could just get some feedback on it, I think but I'm just interested in what Michael has to say, if you don't mind.
Yep. Mr. Mason.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Oh, there we go. The policy's standard, but what happens is how the policy is implemented. What's being proposed here is a graduation on first trying to identify what are the issues before taking any action, considering if there are particular circumstances either in what is happening or the people that it's been happened to, taking into that context first before making any decision as to what actions you take. And that's promoted generally throughout local government, and increasingly it's a considered approach, which is the best way.
That's what I thought it was about. I think that's the way councils become well revered in a community, is by, yes, people do something wrong, and ultimately some people may have to be punished, but most people do something wrong and a warning's more than enough. And so I think hats off. Very good.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I'll put the motion, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous vote once again. Carried. Next one, Broken Hill City Council Report, NAT 198/22, dated the 6th of September 2022, adoption of the draft revised compliance enforcement policy. Someone like to move the report? Mayor Kennedy, have a seconder? Councillor Chandler, would you like to speak to it, Mayor Kennedy?
Just the same question again. I think it'll be the same answer, but I like this report, this policy even more, and I think it's along the same lines. It appears to be, but if I could just have it explained again, if Mr. Mason doesn't mind, and the general manager.
Certainly. The three reports reflect that same policy of seeking to understand what the issue is first before making a decision, and addressing those issues.
Yes.
Okay, I'll put the report to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Moving on, Broken Hill City Council Report 199/22, dated the pardon? Okay, but the 8th of September 2022, the draft revised local approvals. It's moved by Councillor Turley. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Jewett, would you like to speak to it, Councillor Turley? Anyone would like to make any comments, because it seems to be these revised things that are going quite
Look,
well.
I'll only make the comment that it means a lot to people having policies that reflect their own personal circumstances. And I know just from, and I'm sure I'm not the only councillor or in this room or even staff member that have had people with their come up to them to talk about it. And this policy will stop a lot of the angst that's been in the community.
Also, Mayor Kennedy, I'll put the report to the vote. All those in favour? Again, count moved unanimously. Regular report 200/22 dated the 17th of August 2022. Minutes of the Friends of the Fauna of the Barrier Ranges Community Committee. Moved by Councillor Turley. A seconder, Councillor Chandler. Would you like to speak to Councillor Turley? Okay, anyone like to make a comment? No one makes that comment. Put it to the vote. Carried unanimously. As there's no confidential matters. Due to that, there's no further business. I declare the Health and Building Committee closed at 6:52. No, 5:52. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself here.